Hey everybody, John Ramdeen and Robin Black. We are anticipating a 170-pound battle going down April 8th in Buffalo, New York. Our buddy Patrick Cote in tough against one of the most feared guys back in the day. When I say back in the day, Thiago Alves, when he was facing George St. Pierre, when he was fighting John Fitch and all of those guys, he was such a destructive force. But we're seeing that style coming back where guys play the stand-up, whatever their background is, karate, Muay Thai, stand-up fighting is what we'll call it. Not going to the ground. Make sure they play that game. How does this, when you think about Thiago Alves' style and how he matches up with Patrick Cote, one thing we've learned about Pat is that he's not just the slugger that we've seen from him. Outstanding wrestler, great jiu-jitsu guy.
Half-guard game is out of control.
Do you think Thiago Alves tries to play that game?
The Thiago Alves that we've seen since he was that guy we haven't seen signs that he has evolved as much as a lot of fighters. It doesn't mean he hasn't, and I'm sure Pat won't be assuming, it'll be that old guy again. I'm sure he's not assuming that. But Thiago Alves was a power guy, brutal leg kicks, distance closer. You know, he was an archetype of power hitter, Muay Thai based power hitter, and we haven't seen a ton from him that has changed. You go back to a couple of years ago, how Jordan Meehan was that's how you beat a guy, who's a Muay Thai guy, who's really about delivering power and about thinking more about his offense than anything. Jordan was just chewing him up out there. Pat plays with space in a very similar way. So I think Alves really has to be at his best, and he has to have improved and grown.
And if you are the guys in Coconut Creek, Florida, if you're his teammates and his coaches, what are you doing to try to help him evolve? Because if we all believe that he's still that power striker with the low leg kicks, that's his game. How do we make sure that you're giving him other tools that if his adversary can figure that out, that he can rely on something else?
I mean, when you're in there in a great room with great guys and great coaches, he is evolving. He is a better version, you would assume, of himself. But then he was going for 155 pounds and didn't get there, so he made some changes to his body, changes to his physicality. That's a challenge. It's a challenging fight for Thiago Alves. As much as Pat is a friend and somebody we like very much, as most Canadians know him do, you'd like to see Alves turn that corner. But Pat's a tough guy a tough assignment to be able to do that. Cote is really, really complex out in space. Yeah.
He's just an intelligent fighter. Like, one of the things that we've talked about is the Jiu-Jitsu game, the Muay Thai game. It's just all fighting, right? Yeah. So the idea is, I'm just going to beat you in whatever area of fighting. I'm going to beat you.
The guys, the fully developed guys for this era, 2017, it's really tough to deal with. The guys who can flip the switch and phase into a different phase of combat at any time. And like Pat, up until Donald, he was looking just unbelievable. Yeah. The way that the whole game became fluid to him, he never, like you're saying, never thinking, I am now boxing, like in my old days when I was in the Army. Yeah. Now I will take him down. It just all seamlessly floats and moves and phases in between all that stuff. And if that Pat shows up, and that Pat always shows up, and Thiago hasn't turned that corner. Maybe he has. You need to see him in the gym and see where he's at. And people have been beating him and taking, advantage of him by moving their feet really well. That's what people have been doing in this era of Thiago Alves. So has he addressed that? Maybe. You'd love to see him surprise you and start really looking like he did in that last era of his evolution, but we'll see.
How important is his intellect in the modern landscape of mixed martial arts? We know that you need to be physically capable. We know you have to train in all these different areas, but it seems that the more intelligent fighters are the guys that are able to analyze things and use their brain, and it gets them to a different level. And Pat Cote is one of those guys.
Yeah, if you're not doing that now, you're speaking another language, and you don't understand the language that he's playing. You're playing checkers and they're playing chess. You can't beat a chess master with a badass checker game. Doubling up on your circle. That's not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. And these days, the brain, the mind, the thought process, your view of the world, the way you're you're taking inputs and projecting outputs in a fight is everything. And from what I don't, have you met Thiago Alves?
I have, yeah.
People love him. He's a
Nice
sweet guy,
dude.
incredibly
Really nice
hardworking,
dude.
loves what he does. And I'm under the impression that he's very intelligent as well. We just don't know him as well, but he needs to, you would like it for him to see that guy, because you know how much he loves fighting. You can feel it. To see him have that fight, that performance that he hasn't really had in a couple of years.
When you think about Patrick Cote, as you mentioned, we've had the chance to know him a little bit over the last decade or so. And when you look at him, he's a very driven guy, clearly getting better as a mixed martial artist. He's a TV personality in Quebec.
I just did his podcast the other day. Hey, Pat, that's fun.
His podcast. I think he has a bunch of other businesses. He's
Real
estate, new father. When are you spreading yourself too thin in this game that takes so much attention?
I don't know the answer to that. Only a year ago, we would be discussing that, and it would come up, oh, this guy's doing too many movies. Oh, man, look at Ronda's doing all these photo shoots. But now you start to see that people connect their whole life in a way that it all kind of works. And people can accomplish a lot more than we believed that people could do even a couple of years ago. It's being proven constantly. People become more efficient with their time. They become more focused that wherever you are, you're present there. This is something that athletes are working on, tech people are working on, performers are working on. All you got to do is go on Medium or any of these places and you see thousands of people sharing ideas about increased effectiveness, decreased efficiency. So people are able to do a lot more than we might have believed a few years ago. But there does have to be a limit. We're still humans.
One of the things I do anticipate from this fight, as I do expect Patrick Cote to show his hands. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned about a lot of fighters that, come from a specific background, especially if you have that in you. You want to use your striking abilities. I know you came from a Taekwondo background, but then you made that move to Jiu-Jitsu. But once you started loving boxing and learning boxing, you fall in love with your
There's
hands.
something so incredible about being able to play, with your hands and your feet and your knees and your shins. It really is. If you haven't got a chance to go take a Muay Thai class or a boxing class or a kickboxing class, anything. It's something very special. There's something in the moving of yourself, making people miss and penalizing somebody in that dance and that game between you. And Pat spent his lifetime perfecting that. But Pat's a black belt under Fabio Holanda as well. So Fabio doesn't give those out.
Of course
not. I mean? So he had to put in all that time, and you want to show that too. He has an unbelievably dominant top half guard game. My guy Ben Saunders will tell you that.
And that's why I just expect him to kind of send a false message to Thiago Alves. I'm going to show you what I'm capable of in the hands, and then I'm going to put you on the ground, and I'm going to control you on the mat. So all I know is this is a outstanding battle, because we know Pat, and he doesn't have to fight. The fact that he wants to go in there and he wants to compete against a guy that we've seen how dangerous he can be in Thiago Alves, a tremendous fight at 170 pounds. All the action going down in Buffalo on April 8th.